universally we all want, and universally most of us feel guilty for wanting. And so you are designed to want and desire and move forward and expand. And so the idea that we should not want more is false.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to the Life Inner Show. I'm your host, Jason Wojo. On the Life Inner Show, we help people make more, work less, and live better. I am joined, as always, man, always. You are right there for me, bro. You are like, I can count on you, man. Polish Peter, what's up, dude?
That's right. It's maybe on the other end of it, it's like he never leaves. He's always here. Like, what the hell?
Can't get rid of him. Can't get rid of this guy.
Get rid of him. So listen, the reason why that is because obviously the accent makes it so much better and nicer in this podcast, because otherwise it will be kind of,
or I have some internal contradictions about this. Right. And I have some emotional.
Well, we need to talk about that then.
We do need to talk to it. We have
bring this up in this particular episode.
I think we're gonna, man. So we have this episode is with Christine Meyer. She's an executive coach, and we get into a really interesting topic that I think is very universal, not only in life but in business, which is this: like, how do you know when you're on the right path, when you're on the wrong path? What are the emotional indicators that tell you? Is this a good thing or is it a bad thing? Why do I do the things I don't want to do? And why do I not do the things I say I want to do? We're going to talk about mindset. We're going to talk about how to unpack this thing of like having internal conflicts about things, how to read emotions, how to, and when is the right time to dive into, why you're feeling that way. There's a lot of great nuggets in here, man.
Yeah. So, I think you said it all, like what we're going to be talking about in this particular episode. So let's just go into it.
Yeah, here it is. Christine Meyer. Hey, Christine, what's up? Welcome to Life Inner Show.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. Can't wait to hear what we're going to talk about today.
Yes. Well, we were talking before we actually began recording of a bunch of awesome things. And I wanted to hit record because I'm like, oh, man, people need to hear this stuff. And so before we get into that, though, tell people who you are and what you do.
So I'm an executive life coach. I've been doing this for more than 20 years, and I'm extremely obsessed with human potential and self-empowerment. And so I coach successful entrepreneurs, VCs, founders of companies, nonprofit and profit, and to understand how to create the more of the life that they want, how to feel good about it on the way to their dreams that can inevitably become their life.
And the other thing you said before we began recording was like, hey, we started talking about mindset and beliefs and energy and focus and everything from false premises to indecisiveness. And you're like, you said something that really struck me. You said like, and I'm going to paraphrase this, but you basically said like the fundamentals are the same. Like it doesn't change. Let's talk about what those fundamentals are and how mindset and how this side of the work for people to be successful is so because people focus on, I need the techniques, I need the strategies for how to be an investor, how to be an entrepreneur, how to be a business owner, but peeling back and digging deeper into what's most important is like the mindset, right? And the beliefs. And so start to unpack that for us and what you see is so universal between people, whether they're a business owner or an entrepreneur, they're facing the same kind of challenges and same issues.
Well, no matter what, we all have contradictions. No matter what, there are things that we want that are unfulfilled, and we are always in pursuit of the next thing. And as human beings, the expansion of the universe depends on our desires. That's how the universe expands. And so universally, we all want, and universally, most of us feel guilty for wanting. And I want to say, stop feeling guilty for wanting. That is a false premise, to feel guilty for wanting. And so you are designed to want and desire and move forward and expand. And so the idea that we should not want more is false, is completely false.
Are you referring to material items, success, to feel happy for like what, in everything?
in everything. Because if you're happy now, you can be happier. If you have financial success to the level that you're satisfied with, you can have more. And perhaps you've achieved the financial success that you desired, and you're satisfied with that, but there's always going to be something more. Now you want the relationship. Now you want to refine what you're doing. And so there's always going to be something more that you want that is unfulfilled. And that's another false premise, is that human beings in general come to believe that, all right, once I get this, I'll be done. Once I get this, I'll be done. Once I get this, I'll be done, or I'll be happy when. So in my book, I discuss the idea that I'll be happy when as a human thought track. The idea is desires are designed for the flow of the energy. Desires are for the journey toward them. So much less about the manifested result, because haven't we all had those manifested results? Let's say you have a financial goal with your business. You want to achieve a certain number by the end of the first quarter, let's say. So you get there, and whether you've achieved it or not, did you have fun along the way? Did you learn something about yourself? Did you discover more? Did you birth more desires? And that's the idea here, is that every goal is designed for you to discover more about yourself, and for you to expand, for you to desire even more, to refine your desires. It's so much less about achieving that goal. But if you're in on it, if you understand that you're the one creating your reality, you're the one directing your thoughts, you're the one directing your focus, you're the one perceiving your circumstances, and you get in on identifying something you want, and you feel yourself shift your energy. So typically a desire is birthed often when you recognize you don't have it. So you recognize you don't have the income that you want. So you desire the income that you want. And in those moments, what you're looking at is a reality that is not what you want it to be. Oftentimes people sort of get stuck in looking at that reality without shifting their focus to, what would that be like to have that desire fulfilled? What would I feel like? What does that feel like to me? And so we can skip over a lot of the contradictory thoughts. So what happens is you identify a desire and you realize you're not there. Now your current beliefs and your current expectations come into play. So that when you identify a desire and you say, but I haven't had that yet, but no one in my family has achieved that, or no one in this business has ever trailblazed this path before, or I don't know if I can. All of that stuff is slowing your desire down, is slowing the energy down. And every time you bump into some sort of a limiting belief or a belief that opposes your desire, you're going to feel negative emotion. So those foundations that we were talking about, that you mentioned, those foundations of your emotions are indicators of which way you're going. So if you got in your car and you had already punched into your GPS that you wanted to go north somewhere, but you got in your car and you went south, your GPS would say, you're going the wrong way, turn around and go the other way. You told me you wanted to go here. So every time you have a desire, now we're going to bring in the idea, the perspective of the soul perspective. So again, that's a foundation. You're not just human in your body. You are human and soul, or non-physical, whatever you want to label that. And when you have an emotion, that's letting you know, that's your guidance, that's your indicator, that's your GPS telling you whether you're aligned with the desire that you said you wanted, or whether you're contradicting it with your beliefs and expectations, or mindset, if we want to use that word here, or conversation. And so if you can use your emotions as that guidance, when you're feeling good, that lets you know that you're more aligned with that desire. You're not contradicting it so much. You're not yes-butting it. You're not doubting it. Yeah. You're not impatient. You're not wondering when it's going to come or where it's going to come from. All of that is busy noise that we create in our minds that comes from our current expectations. So desire and your relativity to your desire does have to do with those expectations. If you expect that things are going to go well for you, a lot of entrepreneurs have the expectation that being an entrepreneur requires struggle, really, really hard work to the point where you kind of forget about taking care of yourself, and that you have to push hard. You have to make it happen. And with that mindset and expectation, you keep reproducing those realities for yourself. It becomes your truth. But truth is only evidence. Manifestations are only evidence of the truth that you believe. And so that struggle and suffering is not required when you're an entrepreneur. You don't have to be proving yourself. You don't have to be making it harder than it needs to be. But if you believe that you have to struggle your way, then evidence will keep coming your way that you have to struggle your way.
So let me rewind for a moment here and just cover what a few things and correct me where I'm off. So number one is fulfillment and happiness come from the continual satisfaction of desires in the areas you want to improve, not from accomplishing something statically and then you check that box and you're done and you can move on and it's good forever. Is that correct?
Kind of. And maybe you meant this. Satisfaction can be found on your way too.
Yes.
You don't have to have the desires fulfilled before you feel satisfied or successful or whatever. The idea is the joy is in the journey. Yeah. It's on your way to that you live for. And more than the end result, although the end result is quite satisfying as well, but you want to be in on that. And so as you learn to manage your focus, as you learn to be masterful in intending to where you're focusing and paying attention to how you feel, there's this idea out there about law of attraction, we'll say, where you put your focus, it comes back to you. Yes, 100%. But the missing piece in that is people think okay, so I'll just think positive thoughts. I'll just think and speak positive words. There's a big gap in there if you're saying the positive words and feeling negative. That negative emotion is letting you know you doubt something, or you don't believe something, or you think you're not good enough. You think you're unworthy. And I'm kind of a little bit all over the place here, but another foundation false premise that people believe is that I'm unworthy and I have to use the rest of my life to prove myself worthy.
So those emotions, that was going to be the second point, is the emotions that you feel are a really good, gauge on whether or not you are aligned in your beliefs with what you say you want, or if there's something in the way, if there's a contradiction there.
Exactly. And when you think about doing something and you feel some negative emotion, well, that's not where you want to go. That's not a hell yes. Don't go that way. If you think about something and it feels good to you, then follow that path. Follow that path. Feel it out. Move it out. And so again, when we identify desires, most people believe a desire feels lackful because they've come to identify that I want it, but I don't have it. I want it, but I don't have it. And so desire becomes this thing that is lackful rather than, oh, good, something else to want. Oh, good, something else to move toward. Because again, from your soul perspective, you want that journey. And so do you from your human perspective. So those foundational things that never change are: you have a soul. Your emotions are incredibly important because they're indicators of what you're moving toward. And you're the creator of your own reality. No one else is. You're the thinker You're the feeler, you're the perceiver. And you are in charge of that. Now, we can all be sloppy at times. We can all be very scattered at times. But think about how many times in a day where your thoughts go. They go bzz, 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 kind of here and there and here and there. And you say yes, and then you say no. You say yes and no and yes and no. I want this, but I can. But what about that? Oh, that other thing bothered me. And so all of that contributes to your motion forward, your experience of your motion forward, or your experience of something that feels more like being stuck. Not much movement forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. So yeah, I mean, there was a lot of great points that you're putting out here. One of the questions that I kind of, I don't know, maybe I'm going backwards, but I think it's kind of related to what you're saying here is you mentioned that towards the beginning about we have these contradictions. And one of the words that you used is guilt, that a lot of us, operate from and things like that. So if I have these desires to the result, whether it's in a business or in my own personal growth, and I want to achieve this, right? And it sounds really good and it's exciting and I can't wait to live that life, right? Why would I have these contradictions? Why would I be feeling guilty?
Because you picked up beliefs along the way. You've heard people say, oh, people who want more are greedy. You've heard your parents or someone out there say something like that. You shouldn't want more. You shouldn't want that. Why do you want that instead of that? What benefit does that do for those people who are whatever? There's all kinds of reasons why you would feel guilty. And it's less important to identify why you feel guilty than identifying that you want to feel better.
Okay.
Right? Because identifying why you feel guilty is like digging a hole. There are a lot of rabbits down there. We're very smarty pants as human beings. We try and we add complexities where there's not reason to be adding complexities. It really is as simple. That thought didn't feel good to me. What else could I think that feels better? That subject is fully loaded for me. It's like a landmine if I go there and I can feel it. So why don't I set that subject aside for now? Why don't I not try to figure that out? The worst time to try and figure out what you're going to do in your personal or business life, again, there's really no separation because the foundations don't change. What applies in your personal life applies in your business life in the context of all of the conversations that I have with my clients. If you're trying to figure out what to do next, if you're trying to figure out what the solution to the problem is, but you're focused on the problem and you're feeling like all bound up and tense and you don't know what to do, now is not the time to put more attention on it, because what you're going to do is you're going to perpetuate it. Mm-hmm. It's not going to move anywhere. You're going to pick it up every time you look at that subject, and you're going to find yourself right where you are if you keep digging in. Again, if you dig a hole where the rabbits are, and there are more rabbits, they multiply so quickly. And so when you bump into something that feels like a problem, and it feels like a problem in this moment, now's not the time to try to fix it. Now's not the time to try to find the solution. So when do you find the solution? Well, think about other things. Go off and do something else that feels better. Put your attention on something that is working well in your life or in your business, or something that you immediately feel good about when you think about it. That could be your dog, that could be your kids, that could be, it doesn't matter. The subject doesn't matter. It's that you shifted your focus and felt better. And what that does is it puts you in a receptive mode of getting ideas. We've all done that. We've all been so focused on a problem and just couldn't seem to get out of it. And then you said, finally, you kind of gave up and you said, all right, never mind, I'm going to take a walk, or never mind, I'm going to go to the beach, or whatever. And you're at the beach, you're having a grand old time. You've kind of forgotten about your problem, and then an idea slips in. It might not be an idea that is taking you right to the end result or the ultimate solution that you want, but it's an idea that when you received it, it felt better. That's a step. That's a step in the path toward the solution. Do you have to act on it? Well, if it's a hell yes, yeah, act on it. If it's more like, that might work, you could think that out. You could play that out. But the more you tune to that and that feeling, how that feels, then the more receptive you are to the path toward the solution that you're seeking. But again, digging deeper is just going to get you more rabbits, and it perpetuates right where you are. And then people wonder, why can't I get out of this hole? It's because you dug it and you stayed in it. You got to get out of the hole.
Hey, we'll get right back into our interview. But before I do, I want to tell you about something that's incredibly awesome and amazing. And that is what I consider to be our freedom formula in Life and Air. Now, if you're a Life and Air, you've been following us for any period of time, you know we're all about helping you create a life and business you love. You need to have both, right? You can't just have a great life and your business isn't making you any money, because that's gonna stink. And you can't have a business that completely takes up all of your free time and you're stressed out and running around with your hair on fire, because then you're not gonna have the life you want, right? And so you need to have both of these. And that's why we have 2 events. We do these all over the country. We do a handful per year. Peter and I teach these personally. And this is the Get a Life Getaway and the Business Builder Workshop. So if you don't have the life you want, you need to put together your vision and your plan for your blueprint for the ideal life you want to live in every single area, and reverse engineer the exact steps to make that a reality. Get to the Get a Life Getaway. If business is your challenge right now and you need to go there first, totally cool. We totally get that. And so come to our Business Builder Workshop, because we teach you how to run a real business, not one that requires you to do everything in it and wear all the hats and have you running around with your hair on fire constantly. Like, that's not a business, that's a job. And it's a bad job because you got a bad boss and you're the bad boss. And so let's get you out of that role. Let's help you create a business you love that works without you. So you have time for the vacations, you have time for life's curveballs, you have time to do all the things you want to do, and the finances to support that and finance it. So go to lifeinner.com right now. We also have a very special offer on both of these events, and I can't tell you how long it's going to last because I don't know. Peter, tell them about the special promo we've set up.
So here is the special promo we got for you. Because you're a loyal listener to us, you listen to the podcast, you endure the listening to both of us here every single week, we have a special 50% off coupon. That's 50, half of it off. So when you go to lifeinner.com, click on the tab up at the top of the page called Events. Pick the event that you want to go to. At the checkout page, there is an area called the promo code. Type in the word podcast, PODCAST. That's my English language. I think I got this right. Podcast, right? Yeah. Hit apply, and you're going to instantly get 50% off your ticket price. Come to the event, introduce yourself to us. We're going to be there. Tell us you found us on the podcast. You got it from here. We love meeting the listeners from the podcast. And let's help you create the life that you want and your business that you love.
Let's do it. We'll see you guys at an event soon. Put this on the calendar. This will change your life. This will change your business. Let's get back to our podcast episode right now. So let me understand this a little more. So you're not necessarily, so what I'm hearing is, like you're saying, it's not a matter of pretending these things aren't there or burying your head in the sand. It's like, now is not the time to, like, okay.
It's making those distinctions, right? I'm not at all suggesting pretend something isn't happening or like something that is happening that you don't want. What I'm suggesting is that when you're feeling like that, that is not the time to be trying to come up with different solutions, because you're focused on the problem. You're not focused on the solution. When you're feeling good, you're more solution oriented. You're more in the place, in the energetic field, if you will. So let's put it this way. So you want to listen to a certain Sirius XM station, but you've tuned to a different one where they play music that you don't like. So how long are you going to stay on that station where they're playing music you don't like before you tune to the station that you really do like? And it's kind of like that. If you stay on that station, you're going to get more of that. So you got to tune yourself differently, and tuning yourself differently requires you to think about something else, requires you to look, if you will, focus someplace else, find a better feeling thought about that subject if you can. But often when you're in the middle of crap, you're not finding a better feeling thought. Mm-hmm. You've got to get out of the crap first. And then you can, at some point, look back and say, that was kind of funny.
All right. Let me ask you a question, because I think this is a really good conversation that we're having. From my conversation with some people, what I hear quite often is just like, for instance, the negative thoughts or things like that, right? And how I'm being more of like a, feeling guilty or whatever the case may be. It's like, that's just who I am, kind of a thing, right? Like, I don't have control over that. Like, you're telling me that I need to go and think differently, right? I can't. How am I going to do that? So what are your thoughts about that? Because I know you talk about, let's say, the tuning in the station. So that means that there is a different conversation, different voices, different quote personas, whatever you want to label that you can go and tune into to be able to have conversation, listen to that particular conversation as opposed to that one. What's your thoughts about that?
Well, you are as you decide you will be. And so if you think that you can't, you can't. If you think that you can. Obviously, we've all heard that. But as you decide that you can't think something differently, you can't feel better about that, I say baloney. You can. You might not know how. And let's understand that once you begun thinking about something, it's not very long before you can continue to think about it in the same way, because maybe you haven't been paying attention to how that felt. If you could catch it in that moment where you had a thought and you say, that doesn't feel good, and redirect, it's kind of like, again, driving down the road and you're going in the opposite direction of where you want to go. And your GPS is saying to you, hey, listen, turn around or make a U-turn or take the next exit and go back that way. But you've ignored that. You're going to be well on your way to someplace you want to go. And it's going to be a longer time. Now, time I want to clarify that, getting back to where you meant to go. So while time, if you've been in the habit of believing something, let's say life is hard. I'm waiting for the other shoe. This is another common one. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. And things happen over the course of your life, personal and business, that just is like, it always seems like the other shoe drops. I get going really good and then boom, like that's a self-affirmation. That's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's not truth. It is just evidence of what your expectations are and what you've come to believe. So back to your point, you can change the direction of your car. Can we all agree on that?
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And you can change the direction of your thoughts. But the reason why I brought the car in is because once you get momentum going in one direction, it's harder to turn your thoughts around. And that's why I suggest, all right, don't try to, maybe you can't turn them around on that subject per se, but you can shift your focus and be right there on that station you want to be listening to relative to other subjects. So when you start practicing that, when you start hanging around on those other subjects that feel better, it has to elevate, it has to modify your beliefs along the way about everything. So everyone can change. You can. If you believe you can't, you won't. And you have to care about how you feel. Because if you're not paying attention to how you feel and using that as your guidance, then you don't know what you're in the process of creating. You don't know which direction you're going. You don't know why some things turn out and some things don't. It feels chaotic. I've had clients come to me and say, my life feels chaotic, and this is why I'm here. And so I help them come to understand that your life feels chaotic because your thoughts are all over the place. So you're getting some of what you want and some of what you don't, some of what you want and some of what you don't. And it all has a relationship to your thoughts and how you feel. That's it. That's it.
So I love this. And I also want to bring it down. We talked about kind of bringing this down to ground level and as far as like actual, like, real life stuff, like how does this play out? And so I think at the end of the day, most people's behaviors, I guess, match their belief system to some extent. Like I'm guessing that, if you believe you can do it, you're going to do it. If you believe you can't do it, you're not going to try, or maybe you're going to sabotage yourself and create roadblocks for yourself, et cetera. And so,
and self-sabotage is simply contradicting your desires, contradicting yourself. That's really, I'm into simplifying everything. So self-sabotage, label it whatever, but it's just contradiction. That's it.
So how does somebody, let's say if somebody, whether they say they want to do something and they don't do it, or they say they want to stop doing something, but they don't. Let's say somebody says they want to lose a bunch of weight and be healthier, but they don't do it. Or say somebody wants to start a business, but they don't do it. How do you make that connection? How do you cross that bridge between everything we're talking about now and the contradictions and false premises and beliefs into actual, and we're not going to look at, the deep problems yet. It's not the right time because we're thinking about it. How do we start to do those things and move in the direction that we want to? Is it through action and just doing it anyway? Is it through a redirective focus? Like how do people start to make traction on those things they say we want to do or stop doing?
Most people want to jump right into action. And I'm not saying don't take action. Do take action that feels good, but don't take action to try and overcompensate for misaligned energy. You see, so because if you leave yourself in a doubtful place, so let's say take your example of, I want to lose weight, but I'm not working out. I'm not doing the thing that I think I need to do to lose the weight that I want. So when you're finding yourself in a position like that, you've got to ask yourself, well, okay, why do I want to lose weight? Well, I think I could move better and I would feel more vital and vibrant and so on, right? Okay, great. Awesome. So when you're thinking about working out, do you like working out? Well, no, not really. Okay, so what's the likelihood that you're going to work out if you really don't like to work out? Not much. So, and what are your beliefs about your ability to lose weight? Well, I've tried before and I haven't yet been able to. Right there, you've got evidence of two things why you're not following through. And procrastination is just understanding, really, again, to simplify it, we overcomplicate the idea of procrastination. And what it really is just understanding that the energy isn't quite lined up. Either you're not quite lined up with the thing you said you wanted to do or be, or the environment isn't ready for what you want yet. Things haven't come together yet for you. So there are always contradictions. If you say you want to do something and you're not doing it, there's a contradiction. There always is. There's a contradiction somewhere. You believe something that opposes it. You said you want to do something because you believed somebody else and you think that that's the way to your success and you don't really like to do it or whatever. There are always beliefs or contradictions of some kind standing in the way if you're not moving forward.
And so what do they, then how does somebody just begin to move in that direction then, just by, like what you're saying, just diverting and thinking about going in a positive direction?
What do I believe about that? I believe that working out is hard. I don't like working hard. I believe that working out is hard or is unpleasant. All right. I believe that it's going to take too much time and I don't have time. You see?
Yep.
All of those right there. So then you've identified them. So now you say, well, what else would I rather believe? What aligns me? Do I really want to work out? Or is that just something that I came up with that seems like a logical thing? Well, why do I want to work out? Because I want to feel good in my body and I want to feel healthy and I want to eat well and all those things. Well, is there something else that I could do instead? Is there another way that you enjoy your body, moving your body, instead of that thing that you identified that you don't like to do anyway? Why would you do that to yourself? Maybe you can come to like it. Maybe you can force yourself to like it. Maybe you can just discipline yourself and do it anyway. I'm a person who works out every day and I love it. And there are plenty of people out there who hate it. But my mindset, my expectation, my belief about it is that it's just so invigorating and fun and I just love it. And so I don't have a problem with working out. But when you have any contradiction in there, it is helpful to identify it and ask yourself, well, what do I prefer to believe? What would I rather do? What would I rather feel? Is there something else I could believe about this? What statements can I make right now that align me with, well, working out, I've heard is good for me. That doesn't really feel better because it still feels like I'm pushing myself to do it. All right. Well, I'd like to try something new. Oh, there's an idea that felt good. And now the idea is that you can't just jump into action and overcompensate for your misalignment of energy if you haven't taken the time to kind of identify these things.
So what I'm hearing is you say you want, let's use an example here. So you say you want to, we'll just use the example for lose weight because it's easy and we've been focusing on it. You say you want to lose weight. You're not doing anything to lose weight. You're still eating bad foods. You're not working out. You're saying, ask yourself, okay, what do I believe about working out that I don't like? Something's wrong. Like, is it going to take too much time? Is it going to be unpleasant? Am I embarrassed to go to the gym? Just find all these things to understand it better, and then see if you can find more empowering alternatives. Like, hey, well, if I don't work out, what's the likely outcome of my life going to be? And is that more discomforting than overcoming these beliefs I have and just go ahead and do it anyway? I'm still kind of massaging this to understand it better.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit multi-layered because it's easier if we're taking an actual live example and I can direct it. Because when we're taking a general idea like this, there are a whole lot of components relative to each person, right? Yeah. And again, that's where my coaching comes in. It's just so specific to you relative to where you are and how you're feeling and how you're thinking and all of these things. So in a generalized area, we can just say, there's something that you're not following through on. There's a reason. It's not because you're a lazy butt. It's not because you're not good enough. It's not because you're unworthy of it. It's not because you're undeserving. So let's start there. Okay. There's a reason, meaning you have a belief about something that is keeping you from moving forward, or you have a desire that really isn't aligned with what you truly want. So there are two reasons really why you don't follow through or why something doesn't occur for you, is that you've identified something that you really don't want. It's just, you just think you want it. Okay. Or you have contradictions to it. Those contradictions that keep you stuck. It's those contradictions that keep you away from finding those solutions. It's those contradictions that keep you from having the money or the relationships or the health or the whatever that you want. It's those contradictions. There's always a contradiction or several happening when something isn't moving forward for you.
Got it. Christine, where do people find out more about you and learn more about what you do?
My website is Christine Meyer Coaching. I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook, Christine Meyer Coaching. And my book, Keep It Simple, Smarty Pants, is on Amazon.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for pouring your wisdom, experience, and expertise into our audience. I know that they will love it. And I'll speak on their behalf that like this is the kind of thing that makes a huge difference for people.
Yep.
Yeah, sure. And maybe we can do this again and we can pick something more specific, even to one of you, and we could sort it out, because that would be really fun, because then it gives a more live example of what I'm talking about. But just remember that contradictions are what keep you right where you are.
Well, we should do that, except Peter's really messed up and it's going to take a lot of time to get there. Like, so.
There's so much up here. Yeah,
thanks for the warning.
Thanks for being on Life Hitter Show, Christine.
Thank you for having me.
Man, that was a cool conversation, dude. A few things struck me as one is, being more in touch with your emotions in a way that you can use them as kind of, I think of almost like a check engine light, right? For your life. Like that, when that light goes on, when emotions are risen in a way that is kind of like, doesn't feel right, stop and check like what's going on. But also I thought this was kind of interesting too, is like, she's like, don't dive into the problem of why you feel that. Like, don't dig in, try to find the root cause. Cause you'll just get, you'll get into dig that hole and all the rabbits come out. There's a later time for that. I thought that was interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think what she's trying to get across in those moments, right? When you have those moments, because, think about it this way. You get up in the morning and sun is shining, whatever, and something happens. And now you are thinking about something, right? And then when you keep asking those questions, they're giving you down deeper into the rabbit hole. Before you know it, you're like not getting out of bed. Right? Because my life sucks or whatever it might be.
It spirals.
So in those moments, I think it's catching yourself so you don't keep digging that hole. But I think that in the other aspect of it, I think it's important to, if this is a reoccurring theme, right? You keep bringing this up. This keeps happening over and over again. I think it's important to discover why do you keep going there, and then kind of like just uncover that. And then, when you do get in those moments, you realize this is my kind of like why I keep doing this, because she, let's say, mentioned guilt, right? Feeling guilty of, living this way, or am I worth it? And those kinds of things. When you uncover that, like, I am worth it. Yeah. Why am I feeling? That's no point for me to feel guilty. So now I have a power to be able to go and shift that conversation over to something that I do want to do. So when, I get up in the morning and something happens, because all of a sudden I see this email that I wasn't expecting, or it's not a good email, then, like she said, take a walk or whatever the case may be, right? So you kind of get out of that space, and then you start to shift your focus and thinking, because you have power over it to go in that direction. I mean, think about this. How many times have we heard someone talk about, like, when, let's say email comes in and it makes you mad, don't respond when you're mad, right? Set it aside, let it go, let it sit, and then come back later and see if you want to respond to it. Well, how are you going to respond to it? Right from a different place. You're coming from a different place. And I think that's important. I think that's one of those things that I've got out of this conversation.
Yeah, man. I think there's value there. Like finding a productive way to redirect those emotions or what you're feeling, to put yourself in. I kind of think of just putting yourself in a better state, really, right? That's what you're trying to do.
It is a state thing, yeah.
Yeah. And so you're putting yourself in a better state that's more empowering, that you're more likely to kind of feel good about things. And also, at some point you got a diagnosis. And so we talked about this as well. Like, if you habitually find yourself not in alignment with either what you want to do or what you don't want to do, you got to figure out why that's happening. Like, at some point you got to figure out what's going on here. And is there a better way that I can, and I thought one, actually, she glossed over this, but it was an important distinction that I got from it, is like, she said, there's either something about you or your environment that is kind of giving you static, right? That's running interference. And so, like, I think environment is something that is really, really neglected and underappreciated, of how much, that makes a difference in your success as well. So it's either you or your environment, or even, the people that you're around can also influence this too.
And I think the more important than that, let's say to the environment or people, is how you interpret that environment, how the meaning that you put on this environment. Because I'll give you an example. Looking back at your, bookshelf behind there, one person can be looking at it and interpret it as like, wow, this guy must be pretty smart. All these books, little do they know that these are just decoration. You never actually open any one of them.
That's all fake. Yeah, those are all just fake books. They're all
fake books. No, but listen, like, these are very smart men, right? Another person can interpret it and say, wow, that's a lot of books. I don't think I could even look at those. I mean, that seems overwhelming to me, to having all those kinds of books. And how am I going to take care of this? How am I going to read it? And it looks busy. And look, these books are in a different heights and different colors. I need to arrange it in a different way, and becomes overwhelming, right? So I think it's also important to see how you interpret that environment that is going to be more beneficial to you, rather than it's not, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, man. It also, and this isn't something we necessarily discussed directly, but it's kind of like one of the predecessors of all of our beliefs and our mindset is like the way we interpret things, and our interpretation was based upon previous interpretations, right? The stories that we create based on things we've experienced in the past. And so, like, and again, that is getting into diagnosing why we feel a certain way, but at least that short-term solution in the meantime, before you get into that stage, is really just kind of like, hey, identify it and then find something more empowering to kind of like shift into. And I also enjoyed, the discussion is like, do I have to work out to be fit? If you're trying to accomplish a goal, look for other ways that are more in alignment with your beliefs and what you enjoy. Like, like she said, do I like tennis? Do I like running? Do I like, just, Frisbee? I mean, whatever, pickleball.
Right.
And I think
it's more important. It's more important about creating the habit and, than to actually do something specific. Because for some people,
It totally is. Yeah.
weightlifting works really well. For others, not so much, right? But if you get in the habit of getting healthy, keeping healthy, guess what? That habit transpires through a whole bunch of different areas of your life. Like I have one of my students, he struggled with weight, and all I had him do is just do a walks in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He has, don't realize it, but that habit of doing walks every morning has transpired in other areas of his life, and he starts to incorporate without realizing it. Like, okay, I got this habit, I can do another habit. The belief system goes up, right? I can do this, I can do that. And all of a sudden you start to incorporate it in like business and
that's a good point.
in relationships and everything.
Well, awesome, man. Hope you guys enjoyed this interview with Christine. If you did, we would love to hear from you. Give us a thumbs up, give us a rating, leave us a review, tell somebody about it. And as always, we would love for you to be part of the Life Inner conversation. I haven't mentioned this in a little while, but go join the Facebook private group. We have great conversations over there, filled with people that are pursuing their own vision and want to help other people succeed as well. It's kind of like one big family of people just all moving towards the things they want in their life and helping each other do the same thing. We will see you next week, guys. That's all we have for this time. Also, actually, one last thing. I would love to see you at an upcoming Life Inner event. So go to lifeinner.com, click on upcoming events. We have a business builder workshop and a Get a Life Getaway. They are amazing events that Peter and I actually are personally teaching right now. And we got a team of people that come out and help, and it's awesome. It's transformational. The Get a Life Getaway helps with your vision, your personal vision, your life, and an action plan to achieve that. And the business builder workshop helps people create a business and income stream to serve that life. Awesome events. Go to lifeinner.com to learn more. All right, we'll see you next week, everyone. Take care.